Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome. Happy Tuesday again. I'm so excited for today's topic. I actually was just noting down all my thoughts and I realized, it's time to go live already. So here we are. Happy Tuesday. Great to see and hear you. Good to see that. Thank you for letting me know you can see me and hear me. I am excited for today. So, today we're talking about standing in your truth without disrespecting others. And so, I have a story, and I have my notes here. I just jotted them down. So, I have a story of Allie and John. So Allie and John, John was making some demands of Allie that she was uncomfortable with. Let me know if you've been there and you've experienced this, or if you are in a situation where you're experiencing this now. But Allie was uncomfortable with the demands John was making. And in the past, when John had made any demands of her, that she was, even if she was uncomfortable with them, she would just go along with them because she didn't want to disappoint John and she didn't want to make him feel like she was disrespecting him or cause that kind of situation between them. So she would just go along and she would just do whatever the demand is. But what would happen is then going along with the demands and ignoring her needs then affected her health, affected her well-being. It affected her self-esteem also, and she was just constantly being in fear. And so then it affected her, like her business, and it affected all these areas of her life where, it didn't really work for her. So this time around, when John was making a demand of Allie, she didn't want to just go with those and ignore her needs because she could see there was an impact on her for that. And then it also impacted her relationship with John when she ignored her needs. So if you are in that kind of a situation where if it's in your business with your business partners, if it's in your marriage with your spouse, if it's in any other relationship in your family, with a friend, anywhere, then this video is for you. And we're going to talk about how Allie and John created a synergistic win-win in this situation. So stay tuned. If you like these topics and this content and videos I'm doing, make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. And if you like this topic and what we have so far at the end, like this video, comment on it. Feel free to let me know in the chat as we go through this today. If you have questions or if you have insights and aha moments for yourself. Okay, so we're going to dive in. And even if it's not you, but someone else who could benefit from learning this, share this video with them. So first off, we need to get clear that there are, in this case with Allie and John, there are two people in this equation. Sometimes it gets very meshed up, and we're not clear that there are two individual people in this situation. So we're going to look at each individual one by one. Okay, so first, and if there's a situation you're in where there are more than two people involved, that's fine. You can still apply the same principles to that situation. Okay, so once we know there are two people or however many people there are in this situation, and we apply this to each person individually, one by one. So let's just take first person at one person at a time. Now we also need to understand what respecting someone actually means. Oftentimes, there's fear involved in the situation. So Ali, in this case, she's afraid of, not being good enough if she doesn't comply with like John's demands, or she's afraid of being judged as not being good enough. Again, it's similar. Or she's afraid of feeling like a failure or afraid of losing the relationship. Like maybe she'll lose the relationship with John. She's afraid of that. If you're afraid of being abandoned, that can be a fear. So all of these fears of being judged, misunderstood, maybe fear of being misunderstood, if you voice your opinion, all of these fears can be at the root of feeling like, oh my God, I can't express my needs or stand in my truth because I will lose something. And the truth is that fear can never be at the root of respect. A lot of times, if we're doing things because we're afraid of losing something or someone, and we're complying to demands because of that fear, and if we think that we are being respectful, that is not respect. I'm going to say this again very clearly. Fear is not equal to respect. Operating out of fear is not equal to being respectful. And a lot of times it can seem like, oh, I'm going to do this even though I don't really want to because I'm afraid I'm going to lose this person. And therefore I'm doing this, but I'm thinking I'm being respectful as I'm doing it. And fear does not equal respect. Respect is not rooted in fear. So then what is respect really? What does respect really mean? And what is it really rooted in? So let's get clarity on that. So if you're still with me, let me know in the chat. Just give me an emoji or something. Just let me know that you're with me so far. And so, what does respect really mean? And that brings me to this concept of free will. So, all of us individuals in this human form, in this lifetime, were born into this human body in our life on this planet Earth with this thing called free will. We all have free will, as in we can decide what thoughts we have, what feelings we have, what actions we take, what words we speak, what we don't speak, what we don't share, what we do, what we don't do. And we're totally in our free will. We have free will to live our life how we choose to live it. And so each individual has free will. So John in this story has free will and Ali has free will. First, we're going to talk about John. So John has free will. And so what does respect really mean? Respect actually means respecting the person's free will. So in this case, respecting John, being respectful to John means being respectful to John's free will. And with his free will, he can choose to live his life and do or not do what he wants out of his choosing from his free will. So respecting actually means respecting the person's free will. Now, what is that respect really rooted in? respect is actually rooted in compassion. Respect is not the same as, or is not rooted in fear, as we already clarified before. So, what is respect in this sense? Respect to someone's free will, rooted in? It's rooted in compassion. Compassion for that person who is in this human life as a human being on this planet Earth and has free will. So so you may or may not agree with the person and what they're choosing to do out of their free will. And you do not have to agree. You do not have to go with it. You do not have to agree with it or even understand it. Even if you don't agree and you don't understand, you could still respect the fact that this person has their free will. Now, wanting to take away their free will, trying to control them, or wanting to change their opinion is, by definition of the definition we just mentioned, what is the definition of respect? Being respectful is about respecting their free will, and trying to change them, control them, wanting them to change their opinion, manipulating them, all of that is basically on the deepest level being disrespectful to them, because it's disrespectful to their free will. So being disrespectful means being disrespectful to their free will. And in this case, if Ali wants John to change his opinion and all of that, then Ali would be disrespecting his free will and therefore being disrespectful to him. And so we're talking about standing in your truth without disrespecting others. So without disrespecting others' free will, what we can do is understand that person has their free will, and we don't have to agree with it or go by it or even understand it fully at that point in time, but we can respect that this person has their free will. Now, once we let go, when we respect that, what we let go of, like when Ali chooses to respect John's free will, Ali can let go of the need to control, of the need to change him, to need for him to change his opinion, all of that, which is rooted in fear. And she could just get to the acceptance that, okay, this is his free will. This is what his opinion is. This is what his demand is. And that's just what it is. And I don't need to want to change it at all. That's his free will, and I can respect his free will. Now, when she is able to let go of her need to control him or his opinions, which is rooted in fear, when she's able to let go of that, now that we can put the fear aside, now she can be rooted in compassion. Compassion for John and his free will, just respecting his free will. Now, the same applies to the other person. Remember, I said there are two individuals in this dynamic. There's John and there's Ali. Now we're going to take the second person in the dynamic and apply the same to the second person. Now Ali needs to apply the same thing, same principle to herself. First is respect. Respect is not complying to someone and ignoring your own needs or wanting to change your own needs for someone else. So understanding that Ali is also an individual that has her free will. She was born in this life with her own free will. And she totally gets to honor her own free will, honor her own needs, and what she desires in this lifetime. So Allie now can choose to honor her own desires, her own free will, and respect herself by respecting her free will, which includes all her needs, desires, and what she feels is right for her. That's being respectful to herself by honoring her free will also. And then the second part is understanding that being rooted in compassion. So now Allie can bring the compassion to herself, be compassionate to herself in terms of what she feels she needs and what she feels is right for her and what works for her and what doesn't work for her. So if you are in this place of Allie, you need to respect your free will, the fact that you have free will, just like John and everybody else does, and honor your needs and understand and be compassionate towards yourself for the fact that you have needs and you feel that certain things work for you and certain things don't. And that's totally okay because you have free will. And when you're respecting yourself, you are honoring your free will. So let me know if you're still with me on this. So when you understand what respect really means and what it is rooted in, which respect means free will and honoring that, and it's rooted in compassion. Now you can apply this to yourself as a person in the equation as well. You have your free will and you need to honor that from within yourself. You don't need John or somebody else to do that for you. You can honor that from within yourself. And when you are rooted in compassion for yourself first, and then let that compassion overflow towards the other person and towards the others, when you stop making yourself wrong for your needs and what works for you and what doesn't work for you, then you can honor others for their needs, what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And that's how you stand in your truth without disrespecting others, because you are still respecting their free will. And so, just to bring it all full circle, in this story about Allie and John, so Allie respects John's free will, what he says he needs or does, or what he needs and what works for him or doesn't, and accepts that as the fact for him. That's his truth, and does not try to change him and all of that coming from her own fears, but gets clear that respecting John is respecting his free will. And that's fine. He's over here in his truth. And now brings that truth to her, or now she has the respect for herself and her free will and her needs, and gets rooted in compassion for herself, her own needs, acknowledging those very clearly without feeling sorry, without feeling like fear, all of that stuff. No, none of that. That's over here. Rooted in compassion, respecting her free will, respecting John's free will, and having compassion for him as he stands in his truth and she stands in her truth. Now, these two individuals can actually have a meaningful, productive conversation where Allie can bring her truth just as her truth and nothing else very clearly and express that to John and say, I completely hear you and see you in your truth of what your demand is that's coming from these facts, which are absolutely true for you. And I totally see that. I totally see how that can be true for you. I can hear you in that truth, and I understand and respect your free will and you standing in your truth. At the same time that I can see your truth, here is my truth. Here's what works for me. These are my needs, and this is what I feel is right for me. And I'm just expressing that to you so that you can clearly see what my truth is, where I stand. And a lot of times the thing is, when we are in this dynamic where it's not just that Ali cares about John, John also cares about Ali. And when he can see clearly what Ali's truth is and how it's impacting her when this is not, her needs are not being fulfilled, then John may be also willing to respect her free will, and they can probably come up with a win-win situation or a solution. Depending on how deep the situation is, how nuanced and complex it is, it can take some time. Sometimes it's a quick resolution through a conversation. Sometimes it can take multiple conversations, and it may take some time, and allowing that person to stay in their truth while you're staying in your truth is key to having that complex situation over time and over a few conversations resolve itself, come to a win-win situation and a resolution for the long term. But in that whole process, understanding and respecting the other person's free will as well as your own, and being rooted in compassion so that you can also overflow from that compassion towards the other person is absolutely the key to having this turn out and turn into a win-win for you and for the others, and a really productive process of personal growth and this relationship harmony that you can apply to any other situations that come up in your life ahead and in your business. In any negotiations in your business with your clients or with your suppliers or sources, or business partners, this understanding and practice is key to creating win-win and harmonious relationships. So let me know if you have any questions or if you have any other thoughts about any clarity that you need further on this. But I'm happy to say that Ali and John were able to, through several conversations, while being rooted in compassion and respecting each other's free will, while Ali was being that root in compassion and respectful first and setting the stage for that, holding the space for that, having that as a foundation, they were able to not only resolve that particular scenario, so whatever demands that John was making that weren't working for Ali, Ali was able to tell him what aspects worked for her, what didn't work for her, and then John was able to think about some other scenarios, some other options which could work, and bring those to the table. And then they were able to look at them together and then understand, okay, keeping in mind both people's truths and free will, here's how we can create a win-win situation. And Elizabeth says, thank you. Oh, I'm so glad that this was valuable. You're so welcome. And lovely to have you live today. And so, yep, anything else, if you're watching this on the recording and if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments and I'll get to them. I'll get back to you. If you found this valuable, be sure to share it with other people who could benefit from this content. Give this video a like. That always helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps me reach more people with this content. And I will be back next week with another topic and more juicy content. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel and hit the bell icon if you'd like to be notified of the next videos that I'll be releasing. And with that, I hope that you have a great rest of your day and a lovely week ahead, and create more harmony in your relationships, because more harmony we have in our individual relationships, more harmony is radiated throughout the planet. And we create a more harmonious world, more respectful world for each other and for everyone in the world. And so you're very welcome, and I'll see you next time.